Leaving the circle behind. Hello and welcome to the No Holds Barred Witchcraft podcast. And today we are going to talk about what happens when you finally grow up. And by grow up, I don't mean hit the legal age of adulthood in whatever country you are in. I mean, you finally leave that little circle, leaving the safety of the nest. You know, they say we're leaving the safety of that consecrated magical circle behind. Those really just a condensed, oversimplified idea of the aura that just got bastardized after people that thought they knew a little about ceremonial magic went and created a religion in the 1950s. Right, so if you have reached the limits of what we'll just assume it's a religion, this religious magical journey you're on, say you're a imaginary religion such as a neo-Wiccan, yes? Imagine you are that. You have had your third degree initiation. You have mothered or fathered a little group of nitwits for several years, and now you're finally ready to do some actual magic, some actual magical progression, instead of just doing the same old story. Well, not same old stories. Well, yeah, same old stories, but also same old variations of same old rituals at the same times of the year every year. Okay, you're finally ready, Chris. What do you do?
I don't know. It's all about raising the energy and calling corners. I don't know what to do after that.
No, because they've done that now. They've done that for 40 years.
What's next?
Now they've done 40 years worth of what the tennis equivalent of hitting a tennis ball against the wall with a racket. Now they've done their practice, because they thought practice meant practice, not do actual magic. Warm up to do the magic.
Okay, so does this mean I can finally get the Ouija board out and feel safe? Yes.
That means if you should like, you can get the Ouija board out. Now, you probably will have got the Ouija board out because that would have been one of the very limited things that you would do. However, you would, of course, done it and consecrated it and, I don't know, done sort of a blessings and such. But now, Chris, you're finally ready to take your first step outside that magic circle, the safety of the Neo-Wiccan coven.
Does that mean I'm going to finally take my cloak off?
You can, well, I don't know. I mean, there were many a chilly night where there were no cloaks or shoes or clothing of any description, as I'm sure you would remember if you were in fact a Neo-Wiccan. Okay. Oh, it was out for all to see.
We're just being mean now, aren't we?
When are we not? Save us by giving actual advice now.
How about we establish what they will have learned in those 3 years, we hope?
Right, so after 40 years of being a high priest or high priestess of a Neo-Wiccan coven, Neo-Wiccan being an imaginary non-existent religion that we're using as a stand-in, what would the magical aptitude and abilities of said practitioner be? I would imagine they'd have at least an entire library of Scott Cunningham books by now, and would have thought, wait a minute, I think that a lot of these books are the same. And I always thought they were the same because, of course, there is only one answer to 2 + 2, and that is 4. And all these books must be the same because they've all got the same right answer. Because there was this one person, right? Nicole, her name was, and she copied me in maths. And we both got the same answer. And she said, "You've cheated." I said, how could I have cheated? I'm the one that did it before you. And we've both got the same answer because it's maths and we're supposed to get the same answer because it's the same bloody question. Only to find that, in fact, I got the answer wrong, as did she. And I then noticed that this was just a ploy. She was accusing me so that I would not accuse her. In reality, she copied me and she should have picked someone that's better at maths. Anyway, going back to, you've got a library of information that's all the same. You've spent a fortune. You've met many magical practitioners that they embrace a witchy lifestyle. Some would say an aesthetic. And you are very, very much up on your pagan rites. And I don't mean rites as in magical rights. I mean rights as in laws and that. You're a campaigner, you know. You want to re-establish the great temples on the hillsides. But after 40 years of practice, you still don't know where to begin because you've been told a bunch of crap. So, how does one actually, now they've been practicing for 40 years, become some kind of a priest or priestess of what they'll probably call the old religion, what we're going to call a new religion, because the old one's dead? How does one now become a new seat for an old energy? And does it involve a circle?
No, it might involve a few triangles, though.
Oh, triangles. No, that's advanced.
Sorry, I can't
Could
take you
I
seriously.
put my triangle in a circle just because I still sleep better at night knowing there is a circle involved?
No, the triangle has sharp corners, so it's going to pop the circle, I'm afraid.
Oh, damn. I see. So, where do I begin, Chris? I've done my practice for 40 years. I almost sent some energy the other day. Could have just been wind, I'm not sure. And I'm a master Reiki practitioner and tarot reader. I've been doing that for at least 30 years. I started doing that before it came cool.
I'm starting to wonder if this was a mistake suggesting this title today, because it sent you down a rabbit hole of just hate.
All I'm doing is asking you questions and you're refusing to answer said questions. It's almost like you don't want the neo-Wiggins to progress and you're unwilling to help them progress. Come on, they finally want to do it, Chris. They finally want to become a seat for some kind of powerful deity of some description. Yeah? A new Oracle of Delphi.
Okay. So the first thing they've got to do is forget everything they've just spent 40 years learning.
That is so mystical, Chris. I can't. I mean, that is super mystical. I mean, that is some next level Miyagi stuff. Next level Mr. Miyagi stuff. That is like, oh, the first thing you must do is unlearn what you have learned. Like, oh, that's mystical. Right. They're currently creaming their pants. You've hooked them in. What's the next step? They now have established you because you've come out with some kind of mystical crap. That's the sort of people they cling to, obviously. You've come out with that. They now think this is a man that says nothing, yet clearly knows so much. What are we to do? Please tell us, oh great one.
Well, first you were wax on, and then you were wax off.
Can I use a patchouli? And does it have to be something from that evil company, Johnson & Johnson? Or can I use a natural wax? And, you know, that kind of thing. I'm being ethical, right? Save the planet, you know? I don't really want to get rid of the bush, but I will if you tell me that much like a Buddhist monk, I have to shave off all the hair.
Oh, this is awful. Right, we need to do some real stuff now. So,
I've been asking you, what's the first step?
well, I am currently looking at a copy of Agrippa, right? That is a printed by a Llewellyn.
Oh, is that the same one I've got? You finally upgraded, Chris.
So I've updated to a digital version of it.
No, you've got a digital one. You don't read PDFs. What are you talking
I
about?
know, but I've had to.
Oh God.
I refuse to spend money at Llewellyn.
Right, so are you telling them to go and get a copy of the publishing company Llewellyn's book of Agrippa because they might feel at home, given that they know that Llewellyn only ever release good content in the form of books and such, and that it may be something that's familiar before you basically do that little trick we used to do when I was a kid and literally pull the rug out from underneath them and watch them topple over? Is that what you're telling me?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Much.
But they know
what
all
I'm
about
also saying is
they've watched several YouTube documentaries about Agrippa, and they've also read the Magus, because the Magus is a rip-off of Agrippa, and they almost understood it, Chris. They've got a lot of little quotes they can repeat, and they know about elements. All five of them. Yeah.
All five of them? What's
all
the
five
fifth
of
one?
Them. Well, the fifth, depending on what type of neo-Wiccan you are, could be spirit or it could be time, you know? But I cannot tell you the answer to that because that is a third-degree secret, I'm afraid.
Oh, okay.
Much like what am I wearing under my crushed velvet? Is it some sort of Mormon-like underpants? Or is it just nothing at all? That is all third-degree initiatory secrets of the neo-Wiccan tradition, Chris. Now, please don't use your magical hook that you hooked me in, claiming to know all of these things and help me, when you're actually just trying to steal the secrets of our tradition. Because I signed a piece of paper being an initiatory to the third degree to say that I would not publish this material that is already out there on the internet, that I would not republish this material in the form of telling people our incredibly important secrets, such as the secret of the god and goddess and their union. So I've got the book Agrippa. I'm going to go and get it right now. Imagine I'm going to Amazon. What I'm actually doing is going and getting it from that shelf over there, okay?
So yes, you've got to go get Agrippa.
And then
the first thing
it's same
the first thing they're going to do
from Amazon. Yes.
Is they go to? Will you stop trying to sell more of your shares in Amazon, Liam?
For full disclosure, I may have shares in Amazon.
I know you do.
Come on, I've got
Jeff
the book.
Bezos.
I've got the book. I've got the book, right? It doesn't have a pentagram on it, but past my second degree, I started to read more books that didn't have pentagrams on them. So I am okay with that, you know, because the secret books, they have more unusual titles and not got pentagrams on it. You know, when you get to my third degree, we were told we were now able to laugh at the people that used to buy the books with the pentagrams, like we were like 2 years ago when I did my first and second degree initiation into the neo-Wiccan tradition. So I've got the book, and I'm just seeing Hebrew, Chris. This looks a bit too ceremonial magician-y. Now, the very specific initiatory tradition of the neo-Wiccans that I initiated into, we did have a strong ceremonial magic influence in the form of our founder, our founding father, hallowed be his name. But I mean, it's all been very much of a muchness for me. I was generally, if I'm honest, a bit like the political, more magical equivalent of the political backbencher. I kind of turned up to justify my massive salary and to my constituents that I was actually doing something, but I didn't pay much attention, if I'm honest. So I do have been to many a magical ceremony and such, but I've never learnt the Hebrew, Chris. And if I'm honest, if it weren't for the fact it had a page number on it, I wouldn't know which way up it was supposed to be.
You're really in that mood today, aren't you? I shouldn't have asked you to do this after recording not a book review.
We did not a book review on tarot, for crying out loud. And some
You're
people
too
would
excited.
have some of people would have picked up on the fact that we were doing a not a book review on tarot, because tarot's a book, they say, and not the actual book. But most people that will have been lost on, you know. I've got the book, Chris. Can you please stick to trying to teach me? Because you're just talking in riddles, and I need to have this. I'm not used to solving riddles to get my occult gnosis. I'm used to being told my occult gnosis and memorizing it and then writing it in my book of shadows. Do I need a book of shadows? Because I will have to buy a new one. Because the last one, the crystal fell off the front, and it's pretty much all used up anyway. And I like to, every time I enroll on a new course, every Centre of Excellence course I buy a new pretty book from Paper Blanks, or I'll go down to Glastonbury High Street if I've been paid. If it's on a payday, I will go down Glastonbury High Street and buy one of those leather-bound ones that the slaves make and that people import and sell on at a really inflated high price. So I've got the book and I've got a notebook. What must I first do? I'm presuming you're going to say open the pages, or am I supposed to channel it or something?
I think you should channel it myself, because I think that'd be far more amusing. But as you are not the student, and hypothetically you are. Right, my point was I was trying to make, Leah, before you kept calling out bullshit. I have no idea what that was. Is that I was trying to make the point of you now reflect on everything you thought you'd learn over 40 years by applying what's in those pages to it.
What, you want me to read the whole book?
Yes.
I mean, for crying out loud, if I wanted a religion that was based on a book, I'd just go and become Jewish. I don't want no scholarly stuff. I want to be able to like wave crystals about and stuff. You mean there's none of that?
No, don't need crystals at this point.
Crying out loud. Well, I'm not selling my crystals. They cost me a lot of money.
The next bit is not required for any of those things, because you should be doing your work astrally.
Astrally? Oh, I've done astral travel and that. I did do it once, but I didn't have any control over it, and I'm not entirely sure whether it was a dream or not. It could have been a dream. Channing Tatum was there.
Yes, I think that was a dream, love. I think that was a dream.
Now, upon astral projection, upon waking from it, is it usual to have sticky sheets?
Wow, Liam, are you really going to be like that today?
Well, I mean, we did talk about astral projection in my Neo-Wiccan tradition, and they said that basically you have to do a lot of meditation, and I did a lot of meditation, and it didn't really get me nowhere. And then they told me to imagine that there was a rope ladder coming out of my stomach. That just gave me stomach cramps. And I was kind of like, why is that there? I did try, but to be honest with you, I never got that far with astral travel. That's beyond my abilities. And it's not part of the third degree Neo-Wiccan examination to become a high priest / high priestess. Because I was originally a high priest, but some of the other Neo-Wiccan traditions allowed me to be a high priestess because they are very progressive people. And the high priest role was filled, so I wanted to be a more important person, so I had to be one of the leaders, so I became High Priestess instead. Right? Okay, so where's my first lesson? Because we're 20 minutes in and you've still not given me my first lesson. Unless I really need to go and reflect upon this, because maybe you've been teaching me all along and I just did not realise because of the comedy. Mr. Chris, are you there?
Have you calmed down now, sir?
I have calmed down. I am in a calm and tranquil state.
Okay.
I'm in an alpha state.
I'm sure. Right. Next point I was trying to make 20 minutes ago is that the first part is actually getting to grips with what's in a gripper. Ha ha ha. So obviously we previously did an episode of this called Get a Gripper, I think.
I'm not going to lie, I didn't listen to that because I was told by several people within my tradition that you are both toxic, bad influencers. So I have not listened to any of your content.
Okay.
So please bear with me. I will try my best.
Okay. Does this character you are playing, Liam, disappear at 30 minutes? Because I really hope it does.
It can if you like, because that way we'll have 30 minutes of the free episode, and then after the 30 minutes, they've got to pay for the knowledge, Chris. And a lot of the Neo-Wiggins that we'll be listing will be used to paying for knowledge. The only difference this time is that they'll be paying for it and they'll actually get some. But for as a freebie, I will cut my character now because you don't like it. I think it's an excellent learning tool. But you would presumably use Heinrich Agrippa's Free Books of Occult Philosophy as kind of like an exercise book, I'm presuming. So this is kind of like when you start school and you get given your school textbooks, you know, and it's got course material stuff in, and you're not told to just read it. Obviously, you're assigned homework and tasks and stuff that book helps with. So is that what you're saying that this format would take, that would be useful?
Yeah, so what I'm kind of hoping is that through Agrippa you'd be able to replace some of the broken knowledge. So you know we often talk about when you go to school and you learn a version of maths to get through GCSE. Then you're told at A level that maths is crap, and actually maths is a bit more like this.
I was told my maths was crap at every stage. I'm not going to lie. But go on, I do understand what you're meaning because I've seen this also in science.
Yeah, so the same way that you learn about solids, liquids, and gases, and then you're told everything is molecular, and then you move further on to everything is matter or antimatter. The whole process is about this. So at this point, you should be kind of going, okay, all the stuff that I learned before, if you were to then apply it to Agrippa, regardless of what practice you come from, if you're able to apply it to Agrippa and understand, like you've already said, Liam, between the bullshit, is that obviously this is a highly ceremonial version given in there. But obviously you just got to be able to unpack it. So when you look at all the various symbols in there, you've got to be able to translate those to your own language, almost like when we're talking about tarot or any other kind of interpretive methodology, that you're able to create those versions so that they make sense to both of you.
Okay.
So I can't remember the order in which it's separated, Liam. Can you remind me? Is it natural magic first?
So with the first, So there's 3 books. First book, I believe, would be Natural Magic, and the second would be Celestial, and the third would be basically Ceremonial Magic. The third book's my favourite. And if I'm honest, I don't much like the other ones. They bore me. The Elements one is the first one. So starting on page 8, which is chapter 3 in my book. Of the 4 elements, their qualities and mutual mictions. It says mictions. I struggle to read this when they do all the fancy. There are 4 elements and original grounds of all corporeal things, fire, earth, water, air, of which all elemented inferior bodies are compounded, not by way of heaping them up together, but by transmutation and union. That sounds almost alchemical. So, it starts with the elements, basically, which our Neo-Wiccan friends will probably be familiar with the elements because it's very interesting. Heinrich Griffith starts with the elements. Pretty much most Wiccan books and forms of magical Western occultism tend to involve elements pretty early on.
But my point is, if you were to move to expand that book, the first book is actually about how to perform magic in the real world, in the physical world.
So physical transmutation, low magics, dealing with altering the physical state. So that could be getting a new car, it could be healing the sick, it could be cursing some wench that cut you up on the motorway. Could be anything, really. Notice how I said bad things as well as good things, because the nature of magic is much that you don't really care.
But we do know you like your 50 Shades of Grey, don't you? You're not a black or white person.
I am not a black or white person now.
So then you'll move on to book 2. Book 2, obviously, like you say, is Celestial Magic. This is all about you're learning how to master the astral.
Oh, okay.
All that bears in that existence. So anything that has a vibration that is in those lower, and I made the mistake of using the word vibration, don't I now? And now they're going to think chakras and shit. That's not what I mean. Anything that operates closer to low magic end of the spectrum. So this is the astral world, and at a push the world or 2 above. But pretty much all of that is the spiritual that is in existence or mimics. Is more manipulatable, but it mimics what is existing in the physical world. So those are kind of your, beyond the elemental beings, etc., to the minor deities. And then book 3, with a bit of luck, will then give you operationally ways and means in order to actually operate with the next level of spiritual beings, if you were to apply it properly. So the third book is all about invocation, evocation, and you actually manipulating energies bigger than yourself. Is that a good synopsis?
Yes. So for the last minute we've got of the regular edition of the podcast, I will use alchemical references to explain this, because it basically goes hand in hand with the type of practitioner we are talking about here. What you're talking about is mastery of certain levels of existence. So the first level is mastery of the physical plane, manipulation of the physical plane. This is done in the form symbolically of talking about, from our perspective, we are on the earth, so mastery of the earth. As we progress, we find more energies. The elements obviously be representational of the physical plane or the earth. The next ones being, in a logical order, the planetary energy. Then after that, the zodiac. Then after that, what goes beyond the zodiac, which we're not allowed to talk about because that's some sort of adept thing. But fuck it, we'll talk about it. after the podcast ends on the basic first bit. So go on Patreon now.